Alissa, I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself to people who may not know you. Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got started.
Hi, my name is Alissa. I am a vocal producer and engineer from Montreal, Canada. I got started as a singer and discovered a passion for vocal production and engineering when I went into the studio to record my own EP. And I was like, I could do this myself. So
Mm,
here I am.
got you. So I know a lot of people who are in the music industry certainly start as artists themselves.
Yeah.
Was there something about being a singer that made you feel like, this is cool, but I want to do something besides this or in addition to?
Yeah, so it was really when I went into the studio as a singer and I realized I wasn't able to communicate with the engineer. I didn't know, first of all, how to explain what I wanted. I didn't know how to ask for what I wanted. And when they would ask me questions like, "Do you want more reverb? Do you want more delay?" and use technical terms, I didn't know what those meant.
Mm,
So it really just was about educating myself more initially. But then when I started learning, I was like, you know what? I could be really useful for other artists in the studio because I speak the same language as them. I know what it's like to be a singer in the booth because often engineers, maybe they've played guitar before, if they've played a certain instrument, but it's very rare that you have um, engineers who have been singers.
mm,
So I thought I had a unique perspective and that I could be useful to a lot of artists in that position. I'm so
mm.
sorry.
That's all right.
um, Charlie, he's trying to be a part of the interview. Um, so yeah, I just figured I could be really useful to other artists, and that's kind of how that started on the engineer side of things. And then as a vocal producer, I kind of wanted to take all my knowledge of singing and vocal technique and
Mm,
integrate that into making the best record possible and creatively. So yeah, so that's kind of how I realized I could do more than just sing.
mm.
And also on the business side of things, financially, it's very hard to support yourself if you're just singing or just pursuing a career as an artist.
Mm.
So it was kind of a way for me to diversify my income streams.
Right.
Uh, so that's really how I also ended up in A&R and management. For me, it's always about like continuing to grow my business, and I've been very blessed to be raised by parents that are very business minded.
Mm.
So I have just been thinking about my whole career like that, like that from day one. So yeah,
Got you. So how long had you been a singer before you decided to kind of pivot a little bit into the engineering?
yeah. I started singing when I was 3 years old,
Mm,
and that was my whole life. Everyone knew me as the girl who was obsessed with singing.
mm.
Uh, Through elementary school, high school, I was doing, all the competitions around town and recording demos and covers and stuff. They're all taken down. You can't find them. But yeah, I, my whole childhood and teenage life was about singing and trying to pursue a career as an artist. I'm 22, so it's only been a few years since then.
Uh-huh.
But I actually was planning on studied vocal, like voice at Berklee College of Music, and that's what I auditioned with.
Mhm.
But I also knew I wanted to do music production and engineering, which is also what I studied at Berklee. So until I went to college, that was my whole life, and I actually knew nothing about any anything really about the music industry, but I didn't know anything about the recording side of the industry. Yeah.
Got you. So, how was it when you went to Berkeley?
Oh, Berkeley was cool. Uh, I really love Berkeley. I'm so grateful for Berkeley because they've exposed me to so many different cultures, genres, but also to so many different jobs in the industry.
Mm,
I think most people are very ignorant about the jobs that are available in the music industry. Everyone thinks you can only be Beyonce, a teacher, or a starving artist, and it's not the
mm.
case, as you know.
Right.
There's so many jobs. But I was one of those people as well. I didn't know what jobs were available for me to do. So um, going to Berkeley made me realize that I could work in business, I could do publishing, I could do entertainment law, I could write for jingles, write for TV and film, write for video games. So many things. There's music everywhere, and people need someone to make that music and to uh, market it and do everything that goes around it. So it kind of exposed me to so many different things. And it got me really excited about the music industry. And with everything changing so much right now, not just because of quarantine, but streaming had a huge effect on the music industry. It's just, there's so much change happening that it's really exciting for me. So that's what Berklee brought me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I studied at Berklee online as well.
Oh,
I
nice.
was in the music business master's program, and it was interesting because, like you said, you think that now I was going in from a management standpoint. I had managed local artists in my hometown, and I was like, okay, I feel like I need some kind of credentials behind my name if I'm going to be in North Carolina and not move to a big city.
Yeah.
And so that was my reason for going to school to learn the music business. But like you said, something that I think is great about it, because I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, and that's just kind of college in general. You pay a lot of money, and a lot of the time, people are super young making this decision to take out all these loans, and then they don't do anything with it after the fact, right? But something that you just pointed out, the music industry is a whole industry, right? It's a group of different types of businesses. There are a lot of ways to be in the music industry besides being uh, Puff Daddy, right? And so that was something that I dealt with, even trying to get like regular jobs after college was over. Everyone thought I was just like, okay, he's just gonna leave to like be Jay-Z or something. I was like, no, that's not what this means.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I think it is important. Something that Berkeley gave me was just access to not necessarily big wigs or so whatever in the industry. Although that was the case as well, but it was also just access to this world, this whole ecosystem that exists around music, and it was really more exposure than anything. Because I came in around the time I think Spotify had just come to the States. I started in 2014. Um, and
Oh, really?
so, yes.
I started in 2015, so close.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I decided to stop, I didn't finish my degree because I was going to take a class about topspin, and then Beats Music bought topspin, and it was this whole big thing. So it was like, okay, now the class doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm spending a lot of money for an industry that's changing
Right.
faster than the curriculum can change.
Yeah.
Um, but it was interesting because it was like music startups were the thing. So Pledge Music was big, Noise Trade was just getting started and was still really big. There were all these different technologies being built, and Berkeley gave us a front row seat to the companies, the founders, the missions of those companies, and helped us to think about, okay, we can be involved in the industry in different ways. And so I think that's something that anyone should consider if they're considering going to school. That is a huge benefit of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, same thing for me. I'm from Canada, so I literally would not have been able to know any of the people that I know now if I hadn't gone to Berkeley, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, the network is amazing. The exposure, like you said, it's if it makes sense for you, then I definitely recommend it. But like you said, it doesn't make sense for everyone. And you have
Right.
to be able to make that money back. That's a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you got to school and you realized, you already had a sort of a production mindset, right? But what made you go all in, or what were some of the steps you took after that?
I had a production mindset. I knew that's what I wanted to do, but I knew nothing about it.
Mm,
Absolutely nothing. I didn't even know what an engineer did. I just knew,
mm,
I mean, I worked with engineers, but on a day to day, I didn't know what an engineer did.
right.
So I just immersed myself fully. Um, I was in the studios all the time, always looking for artists to work with. That was all I did, night and day. If I could be in the studio that night, I'd be in the studio until 4 in the morning, 5, 6 a.m., just trying
Mm,
to learn as much as I can. Because the other thing is, Berkeley has state of the art recording studios. They
hmm.
spent millions of dollars on these facilities. And I would never, I mean, now it's really hard to have access to those types of studios, but who's going to give you a recording studio to practice in for hours, And if you break something, then they'll fix it,
Right. Right.
Uh, so that was an amazing resource for me. And I just spent so much time playing around with all those different microphones, learning the consoles, working on the knee, on the SSL, on the API. Um, they have a huge collection of outboard gear. Playing with all those compressors, the EQs, the delays, just the amount of gear that they had was really impressive. And then you have access to some of the best musicians of
Hmm.
your age group, So
Right.
to be able to collaborate with all these people and to record them and to just spend time around them was really, really nice to fully immerse myself in it. So that's all I did. That's my mom kept nagging me. She's like, "When are you gonna sing? When are you gonna sing? When are you gonna sing?" And I really had to put singing on the back burner for a while because I just wanted to take advantage of those resources as much as I could for those 4 years because I knew that once you graduate, it's hard. You have to spend money to go into the studio and practice.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that's all I did. I really, really focused on that, and read books, talked about it with friends, watched all these YouTube videos. The good thing too is we have access to so much information online as well.
Hmm.
Uh, so just to take that and go into the studio and apply it at night was so fun. So that's what I did. And at the same time, I learned a lot about the business by doing internships.
Mm.
Uh, so I think I did a really good job at surrounding myself with like-minded people, but also very driven people.
Hmm.
Um, and I met I was always signing up for these industry trips that Berkeley was organizing, like the Atlanta industry trip and the Los Angeles industry trip. And I went on these trips and networked and met with the professionals that spoke on the panels. And one of the people I met was Simone Torres,
Hmm.
who is a Grammy-nominated vocal producer and engineer.
Hmm.
And I interned for her for a while and learned a ton by actually just getting some real life experience. And it was just such an amazing growing experience for me. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what would you attribute to? Well, it sounds like you've already said just, but how do you get over that nervousness, right? The From coming in with no experience to now having the confidence to approach some of these people in these really high positions or with all this experience under their belt. What gave you that drive to do something like that?
That's a good question. I think I always go into any conversation I have with someone that I look up to, knowing that I have so much to learn and
Hmm.
from them specifically. So I definitely know that I'm not where I want to be. Although I have so much more knowledge than I did 5 years ago, I still know nothing. I feel like I know nothing about the industry and I know nothing about music. So I'm
Hmm.
always just ready to learn and put aside. Ego is the most dangerous thing in the energy in this industry.
Yeah.
So I think the most valuable advice I got and the most valuable advice I would give would be to just put your ego aside and always go into every new situation ready to learn and ready to make mistakes and not think that you know everything.
Yeah.
So kind of having that attitude and also um, just having a positive attitude altogether has been
Hmm.
really helpful for that. Yeah.
Got you. Yeah, it sounds like you really just kind of took your experience by the horns. Like, look, I only have this much time,
Yeah.
so I need to get everything out of this that I can. I think that's super important, really, for any person in a college situation where it's like, okay, I know this isn't the real world.
Yeah.
And when I get in the real world, it's going to be really different. So let me do everything I can do now, whether that's just, experimenting, changing your majors, being a part of these different networking groups. All of those things are really important to building that confidence and helping you understand what it is you want to do
Yeah.
and then how you can move forward in it.
And being strategic,
Yeah.
knowing where you want to be and figure out what steps you need to take to get there. Um, and just being intentional with everything that you do. I have so many friends that kind of do gigs here and there and, do things without really knowing why they're doing them just because they think that's what they have to do to get to where they want to be.
Right.
But asking questions, having conversations, and what I always say is you have to understand the industry that you're trying to work in and
Mhm.
out. Like, you really have to understand how it operates if you want to work within it.
Yeah.
Um, and so I feel like generally there's a lack of understanding of how the industry works amongst my peers and musicians and artists. So the more you know, the more you educate yourself, the better, is what I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, on that note, speaking of education, are there books or resources that you would recommend to other like aspiring engineers or people in the industry?
Yeah, one book.
Okay.
Um, All You Need to Know About the Music Business. You
Donald
probably know
Passman.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone, no, I mean, it's more for artists,
Hmm.
but everyone that's trying to understand the basics of how the industry operates needs to read that book, or at least skim through it. Do yourself a favor and just, get it.
Right.
Because I don't know, like I said, I feel like there's a lack of understanding and education for people trying to be in the music industry.
Absolutely. And for those who aren't familiar, Donald Passman, he was a or is a music industry lawyer. I think he was Taylor Swift's lawyer at one point. He was Kanye West's lawyer at one point. But for the past forever, he's written this book called All You Need to Know About the Music Business. And I think they're on the 10th edition now.
Yeah, I have the 8th edition right here. It's right next to me all the time.
Right.
Everyone.
And Donald does a great job of explaining every industry piece from lawyers to agents to different types of contracts, what a publishing company is and does. So if you're someone who doesn't have much knowledge of the industry, this will take you from no knowledge to a really, really great amount. It's a great reference guide and it
Yeah.
is updated every few years.
Mhm. Yeah, 100% recommend for everyone.
Absolutely. So through your Berkeley experience, you obviously discovered a love for engineering and you pursued that with, your internships and things like that. Um, how have things been going since then?
Yeah, really good. I It's so fun for me because um, I could not have predicted being where I am today
Mhm.
and knowing the people that I know. I think the internships that I did really opened a lot of doors for me, um, and allowed me to connect with so many people after graduation. I, when I was at Berkeley, applied for the Spotify Secret Genius Residency, EQL Residency,
Mhm.
and I was selected. So I worked for 6 months at the Secret Genius recording studio here in LA, and that was amazing because every single day I was working with new artists, new producers, writers, um, and allowed me to meet a ton of people, not
Mhm.
only in LA, but these were international producers, writers, and artists coming in through the studio. So it was really great to expand my network, and a great way to move to a new city and just start from scratch, because you're meeting a ton of people and you have this because when you go to school, it's easy to meet people and you meet them in classes and hallways and stuff. Once you graduate, it's like where do you meet them?
Right.
So it
Mhm.
kind of gave me that I don't know what's the word, like that structure or
Yeah.
something to meet a ton of people. So I've been really blessed. Things have been good. I've been learning. I keep learning and I keep working with some really really talented people. I worked with some amazing writers and producers over the past 6 months. And now I continue to just think about, okay, what's next for me? You
Mhm.
know, how do I keep growing what I'm doing right now? Yeah, I want to keep growing as an engineer and a vocal producer, but how do I establish myself as a business?
Mhm.
So that's what I just think about every single day. And things have been good. I've been really, really blessed. Yeah.
Nice. So, could you tell us a little bit about what that application process was like?
It was it's kind of funny because I only found out about it on Facebook.
Mhm.
I don't have a crazy story about you know how I discovered the opportunity, but I saw a post on Facebook and I was like, okay, let me apply. I actually applied in 2018 and I didn't get it,
Mhm.
and I was super bummed. It really hurt my confidence because I thought, man, maybe this is not what I should be doing. Maybe this is not for me. I was reconsidering so many things, and I was discouraged for about 2 3 months. Like, where am I going? What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Um, And then I started my internship with Simone Torres, and that kind of gave me a better sense of how I could make money in this industry.
Mhm.
So I was much more motivated, and I just spent more time becoming a better engineer, producer, but also professional. Um, really meditating about how or what skills I needed to be successful in the industry and what type of personality I needed. So I spent that year just thinking about that. And then I reapplied in 2019. And first, they tell you, okay, you're in the top 90 for the city that you applied for. So
Wow.
they interviewed for 3 cities: London, Nashville, and LA. So
Mhm.
first they tell you you're the top 90, and then top 60, and then top 30, and then top three.
Mm.
And we had, multiple rounds of interviews. We had to provide a portfolio. Uh, we wrote essays, resume, cover letter. It was a very corporate application process
Mhm.
for an industry job. You don't often see that, so it's a very unique process.
Right.
Usually, it's just like word of mouth. You hear of a job, and then you send your resume, whatever, or your friend is like, "Yeah, you should hire her," and boom.
Right.
It was a very corporate style of I don't know, hiring style.
Mm.
So, and then yeah, I found out I was top 3 for LA, and I had an interview with the songwriter relations manager here, Charlie Tadman, and we really hit it off. It was a Skype interview. We really hit it off, and we had a good time. And I think within a week, I found out that I was hired, and 2 weeks later, I was starting. So I had to find an apartment in LA.
Wow.
It was kind of crazy. I just flew out to LA that like 3 days after I found out I was hired with my mom, and we went apartment hunting, and
Mm.
it was insane. But I'm so blessed. Like I really think that I don't know what your faith is, but for me, I really think that God has a plan, and I know that for me, this is part of His plan, and I'm right where I'm supposed to be. So I'm kind of just trusting God on this and going with the flow. Not going with the flow. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm working hard, but it's all gonna work out. I know that no matter what happens, I'm gonna figure something out.
Right.
It's kind of what's up now. Yeah.
Got you. So I know you said that you've kind of been getting into A&R and management now. And that's kind of where you feel like your next branch of your business is going to go. What got you into that, and how's it been going for you so far?
Okay, so you know how I got into engineering and vocal production of because I realized I could be useful for artists.
Hmm.
I kind of have been getting into A&R and management because, again, I feel like with my perspective, with having been a singer, a vocal producer, and engineer, I have a really unique perspective
Hmm.
and um, a really cool skill set to offer to artists. And so, again, I feel like it could be really useful as an A&R and manager.
Hmm.
A lot of people on the business side of the industry actually aren't musicians.
Right.
Uh, they enjoy music, or they're lawyers, or they've been to business school or whatever, but there aren't many of them that start off as musicians.
Hmm.
um, and so I don't know, I feel like I have a very unique perspective, and I could help a lot of people out because some artists don't know what a good mix sounds like. They don't know what uh, a nice sounding vocal is supposed to be, the quality. They don't know. I mean, we all hear great music on the radio, right? And sometimes you'll listen to a song maybe from by an indie artist, but you really don't know what the you can hear that there's a difference in quality, but you don't really know how to get to, you know, Drake quality.
Right.
So I could help facilitate that and help connect people with the right people to make sure that we're always getting the top quality for everything that they're working on. And I also have some experience as a stage manager. I've worked as a stage manager on a bunch of concerts at Berkeley. So I just feel like I have a really cool skill set that could be really helpful for certain artists. And so that's kind of what got me into it. And I really, really love the A&R part of things. It's so much fun for me to discover new independent artists. And my parents, like I said, raised me with a good business sense. So
Hmm.
the business side of things comes more naturally to me, and it's just fun.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Um, so of course we couldn't go the whole interview without talking about, the current situation, right? Right now, we're in the middle of this pandemic, like just worldwide. I know where I am is shut down.
Yeah.
Um, I know where you are shut down as well. How has that affected your business, and how have you seen it affect like the industry that you've been a part of?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's hard to record artists right now. The recording process has been affected.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of engineers that are figuring out how to record and vocal produce remotely. So we could do it through. There's different programs that allow you to, you know, record real time through Pro Tools and stuff. So it's possible. It's just different. For me, the way it's changed is it's given me the opportunity to really focus on A&R and management.
Mhm.
So I've been connecting with a bunch of people on social media, reaching out to a ton of artists. I'm on calls all day long, just talking to a ton of different people from all over the world, and just I just want to hear what they're up to, what they're working on, what their goals are, and it's been really cool to. It's been a really cool way to develop my network,
Mhm.
um, and also I started this playlist called Independent Artists Canada.
Okay.
So what I've been doing is again looking for independent artists across Canada and putting them onto this playlist because obviously the bigger artists right now are fine, right? They're making money through streaming, they're
Mhm.
making money through different ways, not live concerts anymore. But independent artists are not making as much through streaming. They're definitely not getting all the sync deals, and they're not performing live anymore. So they're
Right.
struggling. And I've just been trying to figure out how to do my part to kind of give them more exposure. So hopefully this playlist gets enough followers and listeners that we can drive more traffic to their social media pages, their websites, so that people can buy their merch, follow them on social media. I really want to put a spotlight on Canadian artists because we have such great talent, but unfortunately, the industry isn't where it needs to be to support them and to support their development.
Mhm.
And you guys know about obviously The Weeknd, Drake, Justin Bieber, whatever, all these people, but there's so many people just as good as them that are just not there yet that haven't crossed over to the States. So I want to help bridge that gap and see where we can go. So that's what I've been working on right now.
Nice. My
Yeah.
first artist as a manager was actually a singer, songwriter, rapper from Toronto.
Oh, nice.
Um, and what I enjoy about the Canadian scene is, for one, there is a lot of support just kind of built in. You guys have a lot of different grants that are available.
Yes.
I know there's rules about what percentage of radio play has to be given to local artists.
Mhm.
Um, so there's a lot of things you guys do have going for you on that local scene, um, that I think we kind of envy in the States. But you're right, there is a lot of music that doesn't necessarily cross over into the States. Like you said, we know about Drake and The Weeknd, but there are so many talented artists right now that are not getting that level of shine. So I think it's great, especially that you are focused on, okay, look, I've got this experience. I've been in the States. I've worked with these international people, but let's kind of shine this spotlight back where we're from.
Yeah. Yeah. So that I'm working on. If you have any, first of all, you should listen to the playlist.
Okay.
Let me know what you think. But if you know any independent Canadian artists, let me know and I'll add them to the playlist and we'll help
Absolutely.
shine some light on them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can talk offline about some artists that
Yeah.
I'm cool with. But yeah, so before we go, do you have any tips for, I guess, specifically navigating in the situation we're in now with things being shut down, how artists can stay busy, what maybe things they could do to make some extra income right now, or just to
Yeah.
stay positive right now?
I mean, obviously, the usual write as much as you can and uh,
Hmm.
produce as much as you can. But I really want to stress how important it is and how easy it is right now to connect with people over social media.
Hmm.
Um, it's easy to be discouraged by what's going on and to think that everything is so out of reach. But just like you're sitting at home and trying to figure out what to do, there's a bunch of people in the industry that are also sitting at home and trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
So um, find them on social media, figure out who's working where. All this information is accessible for us to find.
Right.
Find out who's working where. Find out who's curating the playlists on Spotify. Find out who's curating the playlist on Apple Music. Reach out to them and just schedule a virtual coffee meeting.
Hmm.
Not necessarily to get anything out of it, but develop that relationship. Ask them questions. Ask them questions about the industry. And it's I think it would be really, really a great use of our time right now, because once this is all over, then you can actually figure out a way to meet them in person. You could travel to LA, take a trip to LA for a week, and then meet them in person and develop those relationships. And that will really help you take your career to the next level, I think. So yeah, that's what I recommend doing.
Absolutely. I think that is great advice. Well, before we wrap up, if people want to stay in touch with you, how can they do that?
Okay. Instagram is the platform I use the most, at Alissa Faratro, ALISSAF as in family, ARATRO. And yeah, so follow me on Instagram. There's also my website, alissafaratro.com. And in my bio, you'll have a link to the playlist, how to submit your music for the playlist, because anyone can submit. So there's a link to that, and then there's a link to my website as well. So DM me, reach out, email me, and we can talk about anything if you have questions.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Alissa, for your time and for
Thank you.
sharing your story and your insights.
And congrats on this podcast and on your YouTube channel. It's just the information that you're putting out there is so good. So thanks for doing that.
No problem. Thank you.